Hey out there, fellow nerd and nerdettes. Spoilers ahead. On today's show, we scrape ourselves off the floor and talk about that amazingly insane Flash finale, so let's do it. Guys, let me start off by saying this. I tend to watch my shows the next morning or late that night so that I can pause and go back to the things that I really want to break down. Most times I just watch the same scene 6 or 7 times so that I can literally just see everything that's happening. I want to soak it all in, and that's just me being anal about my overall understanding of each episode. And now I'm sure a lot of you people are like, hey, Nick, you know, most of them TVs nowadays have it so you can record and whatnot. And I think you can even pause it too. I would like to say, you're right. You're right. So within the first 5 minutes of the finale, I was absolutely glued to my screen. The whole Flash production team did an amazing job with the pacing of this episode because there weren't really any breaks in the intensity. Starting with that pretty sweet fight between Zoom and Barry, they actually fight up a brick wall for a solid second, even at one point literally having the Flash jump off a window AC unit. Yeah, it was kind of hilarious looking, but given the show's per episode budget, it's quite amazing they're able to use as much CG as they do. That's one thing about this show that I love. I guess over the course of doing Arrow and The Flash, you learn a few things about using what you have when you have it. Basically saying, they're fantastic at budgeting. Once they finally stopped fighting, there was a beat where Barry was given a choice that really would ultimately define not just the future of who Barry Allen was as a character, but also the ending of the show. Could he really do anything and everything that was necessary to stop Zoom, even if that meant killing Zoom himself? Or even the ones he loves. It's a very intense idea to think about, honestly, having to kill for the greater good, or the greater good. But it's something that Arrow's been dealing with since season 1. And guys, that's another reason why I'm pretty much convinced that Arrow and the Flash have their time slots backwards. In my opinion, if the Arrow finale had fallen before the Flash finale, I feel like it would have highlighted the struggle not to kill for the greater good, as well as left us a little bit more confused, honestly, which would actually fuel the desire for me to watch the Arrow even more. Unfortunately, there wasn't a tie-in with Arrow, but we'll talk a little bit more about that on Saturday's episode. So Zoom wants to race, huh? Seems to me he wants to drain Barry of his speed force, more like. But it's alright, because Team Flash has a much better idea. Let's lock him up! He seems angry enough to kill somebody. Well, I'd probably be too if I watched a trash ball like Zoom murder my father before my eyes, in the exact same place where I watched a different trash ball murder my mother, in the same freaking way. Needless to say, I have an opinion on this. You probably could have saved yourself a lot of trouble if you had just listened to The Flash in the first place, because he gets out and does pretty much everything he says he was gonna do, except for that whole murder thing. He doesn't kill him, he lets the Speed Force demons take him away, and that's when we see it, ladies and gentlemen. The Black Flash. Teddy Sears did say in an interview last week that seeing Zoom in a future episode isn't necessarily off the table. So I'm praying we see some sweet Black Flash action. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the baddie has been taken down and all is in its place. Well, almost. It's time to see who's behind that mask, shall we? It's John Wesley Shipp Mofucking Jay Garrick, y'all. I just want to say, at a point earlier in the episode when Zoom was talking to Joe when he had him locked up, he said the name of the man in the mask was Jay Garrick, and I could just see it in his eyes that really was John Wesley Shipp. There was no doubt about it. I think this is an amazing move on DC and the CW's part because it really opens the doors for future multiverse crossover episodes, which I'm 100% positive they will end up doing. All right, so let's go over a few other things before we get to the ending proper. First off, we learn that the CW verse is at the center of the multiverse. That's a big thing to say in a TV show with characters like this. Basically, by saying this, they are to me not only saying, hey, this is the main universe for these characters, but it also leads me to believe that in the next few seasons of any of the CW shows, we might get to see some form of the Wayne Batman world. Maybe Nightwing or Red Hood, but definitely not Batman. There's no way that would ever friggin' happen. I mean, DC just has way too tight a hold on that character. It does make me question the future of all the CW verse shows. I mean, it has to. Second, the real Jay Garrick is the man in the mask. For a lot of comic TV fans, there was a huge desire to see this happen. I mean, it does make sense considering this same actor played Flash back in the 90s TV show, which is a must-see if you haven't seen it, but it also ties DC's multiverse theory in quite nicely. For those of you that weren't paying attention or maybe missed it, in the episode back when Barry first travels through the multiverse, we actually see Shipp as the Flash for a second on screen, which already right there had me guessing. So they did a really good job of tying that up in the finale because we all absolutely wanted it. And I mean, Zoom did have to come up with that name from somewhere. It didn't just come out of nothing. Third, did we just see the Black Flash? I'm sure it's not the Black Flash because technically the Speed Force demons collectively are the Black Flash. Basically, the idea is that for each speedster, the Angel of Death or their Angel of Death, the Black Flash, comes and upon death returns the speedster's power to the Speed Force, and he's been seen a couple of times over the course of Flash's comic career. Saying that this is Black Flash would be amazing, but I don't think they'll pursue that in any kind of way. It just doesn't seem practical to me. What this really was more of a tip of the hat or just a nod to that character, saying that the Speed Force demons drained him of all his power, which he was absolutely chock full of. I mean, that's like 6 Christmases for Speed Force demons. So guys, now let's talk about that ending. It's pretty undeniable in saying we just saw the setup for some form of Flashpoint story. And for those of you who don't know, the Flashpoint story has the Flash returning to the moment of his mom's murder and saving her instead. Something that the CW Flash has set up a few times, but had our hero decide against for the greater good. The greater good. There's actually a great animated DC film for Flashpoint that's on Netflix, so if you have some free time, you should definitely check that out. I won't spoil that one for you. What we see at the end of this episode is a complete undoing of the past events in all, let me stress that, all of the CW DC-verse timelines, with the exception of maybe Legends because they technically live outside of time-space. That's kind of confusing. All in all, guys, the finale was amazing from beginning to end. There was a ton of action and a whole heap of nods to various great Flash stories, and they tied all of them up with a really nice bow with that earth-shattering ending. I am so insanely curious where they're gonna take this next season because we don't have Batman in the CW verse like we do in the comic. And his arc is pretty important to that whole Flashpoint story. So guys, I know it's been a bit of a long episode. I just really love the finale. I mean, I watched it so many times, I broke it down in so many ways that I have so much to say, but I really don't have the time to do it. So I ended up narrowing my list down to just a few key moments that I wanted to talk about. Tomorrow we've got an amazing episode for you guys. We're gonna be talking about some of our issues with the newest incarnation of Batman in Batman vs. Superman, and really breaking down the reasons why that's not really Batman, quite frankly. Guys, keep sending in those comic collection submissions to get yours featured on the show. I really appreciate all the submissions so far and have absolutely loved going through them. They've been amazing. Just send us a PM on Facebook with the hashtag Comic Talk Collector to get yours sent in. Till next time, Nerdites, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and support. Don't feed the Speed Force demons.